Over the weekend, exactly 0 tracked commercial vessels crossed the Strait of Hormuz. 0. Welcome to today's deep dive into the August 17th, 2026 news brief from the Daily Tech Reader.
Yeah, 0 is, it's a pretty staggering number when you think about it.
It really is. And so our mission today is to uncover the hidden bottlenecks that are currently reshaping global power and tech and physical infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack this because it is just wild how surprisingly connected the world's most vulnerable systems actually are right now.
They really are. I mean, we tend to think of global trade as this like vast decentralized web, right? But the data shows it relies on very narrow, very physical choke points.
Right, absolutely.
And that drop off in the street is just, well, it's staggering. We went from 31 vessels just the previous weekend down to absolute 0. And that is purely because a 60-day U.S.-Iran negotiation period expired without an extension.
So it acts almost like a pinched nerve in the global economy.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
a great way to put it. And when that nerve gets pinched, we see Brent crude hover right near $89 a barrel, which directly impacts the gas prices you pay at the pump. Even President Trump acknowledged how these continued tensions inevitably bake higher premiums right into the broader market.
Right, and what's fascinating here is the actual mechanics of that geopolitical premium.
Yeah, how's that?
Well, a diplomatic standstill instantly translates into a physical blockade. The market basically prices in the risk of a supply chain collapse, and that, immediately inflates the cost of energy worldwide.
So for you listening, this means the baseline cost of everything from manufacturing to data processing just absorbed a massive physical risk premium.
Oh, absolutely. It touches everything.
And that baseline cost of energy doesn't just make physical logistics harder, right? It threatens the one industry that is aggressively trying to consume a massive chunk of the global power grid.
Right, we're talking about artificial intelligence here. The scale of that consumption is honestly hard to comprehend. Big tech companies have quietly amassed $1.09 trillion with a T in future data center lease commitments.
$1 trillion. Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. Cloud providers are just fiercely competing for limited power grids right now. And that is pushing projected U.S. electricity consumption to record highs for 2026 and 2027.
But wait, are these tech giants essentially building massive digital mansions without first securing the physical plumbing to power them? I mean, we already see NVIDIA reducing its funding guarantee for an OpenAI data center project in Ohio.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You're seeing the financial fallout of that exact realization right now.
Yeah.
Investors are suddenly waking up to the fact that data centers are essentially giant thermal engines.
Right, they need so much juice.
Exactly. So if you sign a billion-dollar lease for the physical infrastructure, but the local utility literally cannot generate the megawatts required to turn those servers on, well, that asset instantly becomes stranded debt. Investors are asking who actually carries the risk here.
Wow, yeah. So that explains why NVIDIA walked away.
Right. The physical grid simply couldn't support the digital ambition.
So we have a physical choke point limiting AI growth right there. But the technology itself is also hitting an ideological choke point. The U.S. is preparing to exclude partner countries from its AI coalition if they join China's competing framework.
And we're seeing intense pushback on that front, too. I mean, the Chinese firm DeepSeek is aggressively slashing prices just to pressure Western providers out of their markets.
Which forces companies to make these really hard geographical choices. It feels like the globe is being forced to choose between two entirely incompatible digital operating systems.
Yeah, or like having two completely different gauges of railroad tracks.
Exactly. If Apple wants its digital train to run in China, it physically has to build a second train from scratch, which explains why Apple is secretly training a completely separate, localized AI model just to meet China's regulations.
That is the underlying mechanism driving this permanent division in the international tech market. We're basically watching the end of a globally unified internet. And we're moving instead toward isolated digital ecosystems that are guarded by localized hardware, and strictly local national rules governing these chips.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive? Whether it's shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz or overloaded power grids in Ohio or fundamentally incompatible AI frameworks, these bottlenecks dictate the stability of your daily reality.
They really do. They shape the tools you use for work and the underlying stability of the whole economy. Which brings us to a final, stark reality check from the physical world.
Right, the weather.
Yeah. While tech giants pour trillions into these fragile digital bottlenecks, Hawaii is currently assessing massive, prolonged power grid failures. Tropical Storm Lala just swept away homes and left nearly 130,000 utility customers totally without electricity.
It leaves you with a critical question to ponder today. With the global economy entirely dependent on these ultra-concentrated, highly stressed choke points, what happens to our divided trillion-dollar AI infrastructure when extreme weather abruptly unplugs the very regions powering it?
Yeah, it really makes you wonder about how fragile it all is.
That global pinched nerve doesn't just respond to politics. Sometimes it just takes a storm.